This is Ready, Set Reiki, a podcast about Reiki and all energy work, from the curious beginner to the seasoned master teacher, welcoming all systems, all lineages, and all levels. Reiki is a journey and not a destination. And on this Ready, Set Reiki journey, I refer to myself as a guide. So I'm Tracy C. Wright, and this is Ready, Set Reiki. Hello, my wonderful listeners. Welcome, Ready, Set Reiki. So today we are beginning another fabulous journey. So my guest is Alenka, and she is the eldest daughter, overachiever, and recovering people pleaser. Now, she has gone through a series of health issues after years of looking for answers, found a new version of herself, and saw how finding answers for your health challenges is, for so many, something that's so difficult to decide to do something about it. Now, she has over a decade in building software, and she decided to build an online platform that is using custom matchmaking to connect people to vetted holistic experts based on shared values and current needs. And the mission is to give people back control of their health. Welcome, Alenka, to Ready, Set Reiki.
Hi, Tracy. Thank you so much for having me.
Wonderful. So we have a wonderful journey ahead of us. So let's begin. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. So I have always been interested in health. I think it's just something I'm curious about, right? Like you live in your own body, and it's great to understand what's going on. But until a few years ago, until you hit a certain age, you can kind of just get by, right? And
Sure.
then all of a sudden you need to start paying attention because things start to fall apart, right?
Right.
And so I had pushed myself really hard my entire life, both from like a working perspective and like it's just like expectations, right? Eldest daughter of immigrant parents. And then I burnt out. And when I say that, like, I didn't know what it meant at the time. I didn't give it that name. And I think that's really hard for a lot of people. So like, I'm not burnt out. I'm like, you can barely wake up in the mornings. Mm-hmm. You have no energy. You've been working your butt off for 15 years. Like, I don't know that you're like fine. Like,
absolutely.
There's the different line here. And for me, what it looked like was a mixture of those things, right? Like, yes, it was really hard for me to wake up in the mornings. I was in such a stressful situation at work. I was grounding my teeth, not only at night, but all day.
Yeah.
And I didn't know this until I went to the doctor because I had like shooting pain in my jaw. And the dentist, she said, "Oh yeah, you've ground your teeth too much. That's never going to come back." And I was like, that's a thing. That's not, I didn't want to hear that. Like, yeah. Yeah. And I think it's just, like I couldn't find joy in things. Like there was just so many things that I didn't realize that's what it was. And then the more research I've done into it, the more it like makes sense. But I think that was the first part of it. And then the second part of my journey was about a year after I like had to quit my job, which I'd never done in my life. Mm-hmm. I ended up stepping off a curb and tearing my ankle to shreds. And to the point where you show up to urgent care and they like brought over a wheelchair and an ice pack and they were like, "Oh my God, are you okay?" And I was like, this is again, not what you want to hear. Right. And so what happened throughout that journey is I wasn't finding answers. I wasn't able to get better. And I know it's like, oh, it's an ankle. It's not something bigger. But at the same time, when you can't walk because you're terrified that you're going to make a slightly wrong step, that impacts every moment of your day. Mm-hmm. And it took 7 months of re-injuring until I finally was like, I am going to figure something out. And so I started going into a deep dive of, let me try alternative remedies because the traditional stuff wasn't working. Right. And then it was really interesting. I tried, for example, bioresonance screening, and that came back and showed the same thing that my blood tested in terms of deficiencies and things I needed to work on. And it was interesting how these when you start to listen to a lot of these holistic therapies and holistic health practices, there is a ton of overlap in traditional science. And I'm using air quotes in traditional science because holistic healing has been around for way longer. But it just opened up my world to see like there is more out there. And just because we don't have studies to back it doesn't mean they're not valid, very useful, helpful tools.
Right.
And so, like I mentioned, my background is in software and in building software for other companies. I've put Wi-Fi on planes. I've helped build video games. Like I've done a lot of different things. And I saw this gap where these holistic practitioners are so incredibly amazing at what they do. Like they're just so, but they didn't sign up for, when they decided to go down this route, to like figure out how to set up an email, figure out how to like set up a website, or like booking calendars are kind of finicky, right? Like all of these things that like, that's not their zone of genius, but they have, they're like forced to kind of do it.
Yes.
And I realized I have the skill set to make all of those tools really easy and straightforward and accessible, so that they can focus on what they're amazing at, instead of being drained by all of these, you know, necessary evils, if you will. So that's where we landed.
Wow. Well, this is what's quite interesting in Reiki. So those who have the calling, so to speak, to go into this modality, and then they kind of land here and they're kind of in the land of the lost, because they may not feel confident to say, do a live like, you know, this, or they may not be able to navigate a booking system or a website. Many struggle on the website. And I also, you know, teach yoga as well. And I've come across yogis that just struggle. They're like, I just can't get this website up, or I can't get on Canva. I don't know how to do this, or MailChimp. So there's so many things beyond, okay, well, I'm deciding to start a business. I got a name. Now what? So what a great opportunity for, you know, those that you offer this type of service, that for you can put together and help them so that they can do what they do best. Very good.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah. So holistic health, it came into your life, right? Like gangbusters here. So, you know, how much did you continue to explore? You know, did it find you, or did you find it in this pursuit of trying to feel better? And what type of holistic care did you choose to, seek help with?
Yeah, I think so I live in Los Angeles, and I say that because theoretically it is like one of the most accessible like locations in the world in terms of access to holistic health. Yet I would ask everyone, you know, I would be walking my dog and I would meet people with dogs, right? This happens, and you make friends. And then I'm like, hey, like I can't find answers for this, or like, I'm still not getting better, because we would talk about it, right? Because you could see my ankle brace. And I would ask anyone and everyone that I met, hey, do you know anyone who could help me with this? Because I am not able to like figure this out on my own. It's not something you can search, is what I discovered. Like if you don't know what you don't know, there's no starting point, right? Like if you know that you want to get Reiki, you can find that. Like it might not be super straightforward, but it's like, at least you have that keyword Reiki, right? And like your location, if virtual or in person, like you can start with that. But if you don't know that Reiki is a thing that could help you, and most of us don't, right? Most of us don't know how Reiki can help, or acupuncture, or Pilates, or meditation, or like breath work. Like we don't realize because there's so many ways that these modalities can help you get better. And it's like, unless you're an expert in it, you don't know. And so I had to really intentionally seek out very specific practitioners of each of these modalities. So like I mentioned, I tried acupuncture, I tried roll think, I tried lots of different chiropractic, I tried different forms of energy work. And no, I don't remember what they're called, because like one of them was like my friend whose friend does it out of Estonia. And I texted someone, like, it was just this like wild, I was like, I'm just going to try it all. I tried different homeopathic things. I tried different types of I was across the board. I think I wrote it down. There was at least 30. I think I might've hit 50 different types of modalities and treatments that I tried, because I was at that point where I wasn't going to let it rule me anymore. And I started to see a lot of trends. I started to see that there are certain types of modalities that hit certain different things. And I say that because the platform that I built uses matchmaking. And the goal is, like I mentioned, when you don't know what you don't know, to give you some agency and some options. And one of the parts of this matchmaking is what I call a healing journey. And so you kind of start in the place where you just need relief. Like you're not going to have the energy to make changes in your life if you're just drained by the exhaustion of what you're going through. And so the healing journey starts with relief, and then it gets to like, are you ready to understand the root cause? Are you ready to start addressing it? And there's kind of this whole flow, and it's never a straight line, right? There's always a ton of back and forth. But for some modalities, they're primarily giving you relief, and other modalities are helping you make changes. Like yoga, I would say, is more in the like making changes on your life and like ongoing practice.
Mm-hmm.
And it might help with some temporary relief, but that's not really its primary thing. Like for a lot of us, depending on the style you're practicing, right? So I built that in along with, we have I call it a woo-woo sliding scale jokingly, but right, like a belief sliding scale. And we use that, and we use symptoms as like our core primary matchmaking pieces. And then there's things like price, location. We also include things like lived experiences as optional, right? Because if you're partnered, for example, and you're going through something in your relationship, if you're matched with someone who also is partnered, they're going to understand it better than someone who's not. Same thing goes for like, if you're neurodivergent or if you have had PTSD, right? Like these things, it's better to be aligned with somebody who gets you. And so we match lived experiences, ethnicity, religion, political viewpoints, as well as like different belief systems. Those are all optional. You don't have to pick it, but it gives you a easier, it means you don't have to explain yourself. And that's my goal, is that like when you meet with whoever you end up booking with,
right.
You just feel like you get me. Right. And that is so hard to find.
That is right. Instead of oh, someone told me about this, I booked a session, I went there, and it just didn't feel right. And, when I began my journey, after my sister had passed, I was just pulling from everything.
Yeah.
And what a wonderful thing to have had that option to put those things in, because as I started discovering, there's a whole lot of even different styles of yoga, right? Yeah. And there are so many different systems of Reiki out there. I mean, there's Egyptian, there's animal, there's kid, there's crystal. You can go on and on and on. And I had to go through all these things. And then when I discovered one, I heard like, oh, wait, there's this, and then I would go over to that. But if I had something that I could fill out and say, well, this is this and this is that, and then here we go, give this a try, it would have cut out a lot of legwork. Now, would it make me the person I am today? I'm not sure, having all those experiences. However, it would have made it a little bit, I think, easier in the path that, okay, I can find someone, there it is, let's explore it, instead of me trying to wait until someone says, hey, why don't you give this a try? Because that's how I found out about Reiki. My best friend was like, I really think you should try this. And I wasn't ready at the time. And then when everything kind of fell apart in my life, I'm like, oh, let's give it a try. But you normally hear it by word of mouth or someone saying something versus you coming in and just, filling something out and then matching it. So what a wonderful idea.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what is the name of your site?
Oh yeah. So sorry. The name of our platform is Saha Collective. So that's SAHA and then sahacollective.com. Yeah, it's been a really crazy, wonderful journey. I'm doing this because I feel really passionate about it. And I really feel passionate about empowering providers who have found these amazing forms of care, and they've found it so impactful in their lives that they've chosen to dedicate their lives to it and to helping others. And I think that's so it's the platform is live. You can sign up right now. The matchmaking is totally free to be listed as a provider. And all we do is you're on a results page, and then we direct people to your website. And the reason for that is this is a theory. This is in my head. I was like, this makes sense. When I talk to people, they're like, yes, this absolutely makes sense, but we need to validate it and tweak it and improve it. Right. And so that's why it's free. And it's just been a really beautiful journey of being able to speak to all of these incredible providers and have them also feel heard. And also you get my pain. I don't like building my own website, right? This is
I know. Yeah. And that struggles because our, landscape here is changing so much. It's a digital world, right? You need the website, because you ask people and you'll be like, what are some positive things about, the practitioner? And they say that accessibility, that you're able to look online on the website. They're able, they have this and that and this and that they're able to see who they are. And I know for myself, when I've picked teachers, it'll be their photo or what's on their website that resonates, that I chose them. Right.
Yeah.
So you're working with lots of different individuals in this industry. You've tried, traditional doctors. You've done the holistic. What is a common misconception about holistic health?
Yeah, I think the word holistic, I think, has been abused. This happens in culture, right? We use a word in instances that doesn't make sense. And so people get this like misnomer about holistic just means embracing who you are as a whole person, and not being like, oh, you have you have a lot of cuts on your knees. Like, what's going on there? Oh, maybe it's because you keep on knocking into the same thing at your house. Oh, is that because maybe you're in your head all the time and you're not paying attention to your surroundings, right? Like, and if we're only treating the cut on your knee, you're not dealing with the fact that like maybe you need to slow down and be more mindful and pay attention to everything around you, right? Like, so that's like a very mini example of holistic. But I think for me, the common thread is there's a few things, like, and this is hard because especially growing up in Western culture, we're not taught to be intuitive and to listen to our own bodies. But when I've gone into different forms of care where I was like, this doesn't feel right. This doesn't feel like, there was one, it's called soft wave therapy, but basically it's high pressure sound waves that are supposed to break up scar tissue and like increase blood flow and do all these things. But I was in so much pain when it was happening that I was sweating. It was just so awful. And after a while, I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, the amount of stress that I feel going to this appointment, and then I'm exhausted afterwards because it was so painful.
Right.
Like, it's not worth it. Initially, when I didn't have any options, that was fine. But like, I'd rather go to acupuncture, where I chat with my acupuncturist, because like we've become friends since, but like about different things going on. And I have a very calm, beautiful experience. Every once in a while, a needle hurts, but it's really like rare. Like, I'd rather do that than this. And I think it was just learning that it needs to feel aligned. It needs to feel right. If you feel uncomfortable or if you don't feel heard, don't do it. Because that your body is also not going to be in a state where it can accept the form of treatment anyways. And that's not, it's not like the provider knows it, you know it, it's not good for either of you. And I think that is probably not the answer you were looking for, but that's what I felt.
Sure. That's what I tell my students. If I'm just a guide, I'm guiding them through the experience. And that's why I kind of refer to myself as a guide versus a host here, because I'm learning as well. And if it doesn't feel right, don't do it. So that I would say every aspect of your life, listen to that inner teacher, that inner guru within you.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. And I think, and now I talk about it when people are like, well, how do you like take care of your body? And I'm like, it's little things. Like, if I eat this thing, do I feel horrible afterwards?
Yeah.
Right. Cause like, it's just paying attention to that. And cause you can go on this diet or that recommendation. And it's not to say that I haven't tried a bunch of these things. But at the same time, like, if they tell me to do something that like brings me joy and makes me feel better, cause those don't have to be the same thing, right? It can bring you joy and make you feel worse. Sure. Then like, you got to listen to it, because ultimately you're the only one who knows your own body. And I think building that relationship and getting to be an expert at listening is like the best thing you can do for yourself. Yeah.
And these different things are, teachers in itself, because now you know what you don't like, right? And that's okay. I mean, although this is a Reiki podcast, it may not be right for someone, and that's okay. You tried it. It wasn't right for you. Go on to the next thing. So don't give up. Keep going on the journey.
And I will say, to your point, it like Reiki from one person or from another provider can be two totally different experiences. So Absolutely. Just because a modality didn't work for you, it could have been the practice, the practitioner, the place you were at that day. If you had a really bad day, it might not, you know what I mean? Like some types of holistic practices require you to be in a good space in order to be effective. And so I wouldn't say just because that one experience wasn't good, like write it off. I think it is.
Oh yeah,
really
give it tries. Yeah. Just like with yoga, you may not like Ashtanga, you may not like Hatha, but maybe Yin or restorative is just for you. And there's so many different, types of Reiki, and every practitioner does it different. I could take a training with 10 other people and we're all going to do 10 different things. So keep trying, and just, you need a few more experiences perhaps to rule it out. But yeah, even go to someone different. So you're right with that. Yeah. It's a good point. So what do you wish your younger self knew about holistic health?
So many things. I think I wish my younger self would have known about what holistic health is like. Let me rephrase that. I wish my younger self knew that holistic health wasn't just food.
Okay.
That there was a huge mental component, there was a huge spiritual component, there was a huge component of like learning to love and accept yourself.
Right.
Because like I wasn't taught to do that my entire life. I was taught to be the person that I thought other people wanted me to be. And that acceptance from other people meant you were doing it right. And I've learned to unlearn that. And I think that has been one of the hardest things, because if you don't love and accept yourself, it causes all sorts of like conflicts. Like if you don't love and accept yourself, you're probably not going to say no when somebody asks you to do something when you should say no, or you're probably not going to have that nap that you should, and you're going to be cranky. Right. Like those types of things, I think it sounds small, but it makes a really big impact in a lot of ways.
Right. In Reiki level 1, it's the gift to yourself. So you're working and giving Reiki to yourself and filling your cup up before you go out and help others. So bringing in like the Reiki principles, just for today, I will not worry. Just for today, I be kind. And that's the whole kind of basis of it, that we get ourselves together before we can go out and be service to others. So yeah, but when you hear that holistic health, you're right. It made me laugh a little bit because of food, right? We thought food, nutrition, right? And then as you get older, and I think just as women too, we're almost like from the moment we're born conditioned to be these people pleasers, right? And caretakers, and that's our role that's put upon us. And then we get to a certain age and we just get burned out from it. Like, my goodness, this is all too much. And then we're not taught also during those experiences that, that we're supposed to fill our cup up. I don't ever recall a time in my childhood where it was like, oh, well, you're going to be a good wife, and oh, you're going to do this, and, being geared towards, getting married and having a family. But what was it in a way to fill my cup up, so I'm not burned out? There were no tools given to me, or say, hey, every now and then give yourself a bubble bath, right? Or join a book club, or do something for yourself. It was always geared towards how can you help other people? And then you get into that people pleasing, and then you get burned out. Yeah. So when it's time for you to get a holistic tune-up, what are some qualities that you look for in a holistic healer worker?
Yeah. So I tried to figure out what exactly I am trying to address. So is it an aspect of my physical health? Because that's a little bit more straightforward for me, at least, because I am hypermobile. I have certain things that I look for that I know, and I try to find practitioners that understand those very specific things. And so that's a little bit more straightforward. But I think when it comes to practitioners who deal with either energy or mental health or other things, I think it's, for me, is, do I feel at peace when I speak with them?
Yeah.
Do I feel like I have to explain myself? Are they giving me words for things that I'm going through that I have been unable to put words to? Because then I can feel like I can be myself and I can relax, rather than trying to justify why I'm there and why I'm trying to see them and why I need their help, because nobody wants that. It's exhausting.
Right. So what advice would you give someone who, has reached their ending point? They're like, you know what, I got to get some help here. I don't know where to go. What advice do you have for them who just is starting?
Yeah, I think when you're like, I've reached my ending point, it's like, okay, what does that exactly look like? Try to break it down a little bit, because we'll just be like, oh, I'm exhausted. So like, are you physically exhausted? Or are you mentally exhausted? Because those are two different things. Um, are there certain things that make you more exhausted, right? Like, is it like, I was talking to a friend of mine, and every time she would have a conversation with this one boss, by the end of the day, she would have shooting pain in her neck and she would like not be able to move her head. Right? Can you start to identify the little things that are building up? Because then you can start to, even just being aware of them makes it easier, right? Because then you can feel more in control and you know what's happening. Even if nothing else changes, that I think is big. I think giving yourself grace and not beating yourself up, that's huge.
That is huge.
It's just that makes, because if once you start to like, if you wouldn't do this to your best friend, to your kid, to your spouse, why are you doing it to yourself in your own head, right? So I think that's where I would start. And I would give yourself credit for what you're already doing. Because oftentimes, like one of my friends, she's actually a Reiki practitioner, but she's taking a break because she burnt out really bad from her corporate job. But she's like, oh, I can't, I'm just eating like these protein shakes and these like prepped meals. I'm like, but you're eating.
Yeah.
Right? You're still eating. And like, you need to give yourself credit for what you are doing. And I think once you start to give yourself, you're like, I am eating, I'm proud of myself. Once you start to do those little things, that starts to really, you're not your own enemy in your own head. And that makes everything else easier.
Right. I know growing up, it was kind of frowned upon for rest. Always being busy, go. And I found myself kind of really feeling I'm not doing enough. But then others would say, oh my goodness, like you move at such a fast pace and you do this. And I would never see it from that angle. And it wasn't until, my daughter's now an adult and she's picked this up. And it was like, I don't feel like I'm doing enough. I feel like I'm lazy. And I'm thinking, oh my goodness, I've taught her everything I know. Now we got to undo this. And what you said, give yourself grace. It's okay. You're working so hard. You're doing this. And I didn't have that person speak over to me. And I'm like, don't do what I say, not what I do.
Yeah.
And I said, let me be a role model to you what burnout could look like. And I'll tell my children, listen, if there is a season where you have nothing, take it as a gift from God that this is you resting for the things that are coming. I didn't take those times. And when I was very young and my grandmother was alive, I would remember she would let me sleep in when I was off of school. And my mother would come home from work because we live with my grandparents. And my mother would be like, why did you leave her asleep like till 1:00? And my grandmother had this wisdom. She was intuitive and things came in dreams. She said, she's going to need it. Let that child sleep. She needs rest. And as an adult, I'm like, man, she knew what she was talking about.
Yeah.
But as a kid, I'm like, why did you let me sleep in? I missed most of the day. And she kept saying, no, you're really going to need rest. And so now I'm able to give that gift. She passed when I was a teenager, so I didn't have that continuation of that encouragement. So now I'm able to do that for my children and say, listen, it's self-care. You are doing amazing. You're doing great. You don't always have to keep busy. Give your body rest.
Yeah. I think it's really hard because if we feel that our worth is tied to our busyness and our output, it challenges our worldview.
It does.
It makes it really, really tough to say, oh, I am worth it even if I'm resting, or I have value in this world, even if I am not currently outputting value. Like this is going to be a really, really weird, but it just came to my mind, like this metaphor. Your car still has value when it's parked, not just when it's driving, right?
Sure.
And you maintain it. You do the oil changes. If something's making a weird noise, you get it looked at. Why don't we do the same thing for ourselves, right? Like your car is actually parked most of the day. Right. You should probably take some. And then when you need it to speed up because you're about something's about to hit you, it does a good job because it's like you've taken care of it. But I think if we give ourselves the credit we give inanimate objects, we would be in a much better place.
Isn't that something? I mean, we take care of all these other things and we take care of ourselves last. It's something else. So what books do you recommend?
Oh my goodness. This is a good one. I can't remember what the author's name is. Let me pull it up really quick. So Slow Productivity by Cal Newport. It's called Slow Productivity, The Lost Art of Accomplishment Without Burnout. That was one that I have read recently and I really, or listened to, because that's my new thing. And what I really liked about it is he breaks down like a lot of amazing authors, artists, innovators that have been made incredible changes in the world, right? From things like Hamilton to different classic book authors, and like how he breaks down the reality of what that took. And often it was walks. Often it was taking breaks from and it was like being in a like house in the middle of nowhere in a cabin. And that's when, and I think it's really interesting to like see, innovation actually comes in those slow moments, in those moments where your brain is able to process all of the input it's been getting and take, and then come out with something, right? That's why shower moments are a thing.
Right.
So I think that one, and then there's another book, Burnout, The Secret to Unlocking the Stress Cycle by Amelia Nagoski. That one was really good as well. And it was they're both very they take real world examples and a lot of science and different things, but they're written in such a way that they're really easy. They're not like jargony and full of stuff. Yeah.
All right. Well, where can someone find you if they want to get in touch with you, if they're interested in being, on your platform or just wanting to discuss anything with you?
Yeah. So you can find the platform. So it's sahacollective.com, SAHA collective.com. If you want to sign up, like I said, it's completely free. You can sign up there. If you're someone who's looking for providers, you can also, the form to be a provider is a little longer, understandably, than the one looking for providers. You can email me, info@sahacollective.com. You can send me a message on Instagram, saha.collective. TikTok is also saha.collective, although I will say I am not as good about being on it as I should be. And then YouTube is saha.collective as well. And then I'm more than happy to send over links to set up some one-on-one time if you have any questions. The thing that there's a couple things that I always forget to mention that I probably should. So the platform is just the matchmaking right now, but as we build out, the goal is to be live later this year. It's a full business in a box. It's not exclusive. You can run whatever you want on as well, but meaning once we help you set up your profile, like you were saying, we'll help you set up pictures, videos, etc., to so people can get to know who you are, as well as help you describe your services in a way that makes sense. That will be available to the public, but also to businesses as a benefit for their employees, because it just makes it more accessible. And then that accessibility piece is really important. And part of that is, so it's a percentage fee that we take from each appointment, but you set the rates, because I could go on about that. But anyways, a portion of that percentage goes towards a fee that goes towards the platform, and then part of that goes towards a fund, and that fund is available for people who otherwise wouldn't be able to afford services. So by being on the platform, you are part of this kind of ecosystem that, when people pay, a part of that goes to people who can't afford to pay, because I think it's really important that we give access to all of these services to people, and you still are getting your full rate.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I mean, as a practitioner, when you go out, you either need to run it out of your home, right? You need to either rent something where you're paying a monthly fee for rent, or a lot of times, and this happens too in the yoga world, where sometimes it's a percentage. They'll take, 30%, you get 70%. So somehow you're going to have to pay, right?
Yeah.
So,
and we're at 18%, to be clear. 30%, I think, is wild. I've heard more.
Well, that's what I'm saying. When as a yoga teacher, when I would go for studios, unless I'm getting paid for that hour per class, it's a 70-30. Some are even, different with it. But 70-30, I would get the 70%. The studio would get 30%. So 18% is a deal. And I have, I've done it all ways, and I have my own space, and I'm paying an X amount per month. And that's with also paying the electricity, and the landlord covers everything else. So that's a really good deal at 18% versus the 30, or some places even take 40% of it. Yeah.
Yeah. When I've spoken with therapists specifically, because there's a lot of therapy platforms out there, and we do have therapy as well and different types of coaches, but some of these platforms, it's a flat rate and they'll give you $60 an hour versus when they do private pay, they can make $175. And I think that's insane.
Yeah. Well, just think of this. Some of my trainings are like 2,300. Okay. Or 1,800 or 1,300. And I would go and I would teach it at a space because I didn't have it. I mean, I have a little space in my home, but I also have dogs, and not everybody loves dogs, right? Now they're sweet little, wonderful little dogs, but they want to be in where the action is. And that can be distracting for someone. So I've had to go. And if I have a training for $495 or $1,300, I'm having to give 30% of that to the owner, right? And sometimes it's like, oh, and you think of the work you do, you're putting 6 hours in of training some days, you're getting the material, it's energy work, it's things like that. And so 70-30 seems to be the norm. When I go for yoga, sometimes it's, $30 that the teacher gets paid, whether you have 0 clients or 100, right? Yeah. So what do you do? And it's based on the number of people. So if I show up and there's one person, that owner gets 30%. If I have 100, they get 30% of that.
Wow.
Yeah.
No, it's rough. It's really, really hard. And I think it shouldn't be this complicated, which is why I'm trying to make it a little bit easier, but it's hard. And I think people do it because they care. And I think sometimes that's taken advantage of.
It is. And also too, with Reiki, it's considered a gift. Like you're giving a gift away. So you're caught between, okay, I want to be of service and help somebody, but you also, have to pay for things as well and live, right? So how do you balance this out? You have somebody that reaches out and I'm not feeling good and I'm this, can you send me Reiki and send me distance Reiki? And at some point it's like, okay, there has to be an equal balance here of the energy, right? You have to balance this out, whether it's through payment and service. So it's a tough thing because you just want to go out there and do it and share this with the world, right? So all right. Well, that ends the first part of our journey, and I'm going to continue to guide you through the second part. This is the social media question. So here we go. What is your advice for someone who is dealing with burnout?
Be kind to yourself. I think the first one is like super be kind to yourself when you are dealing with burnout. And I think just be take the wins and really appreciate them. Did you drink water today? Right? Really appreciate that. Did you eat today? And ask for help. I think you are not helpless for asking for help. And that is easy to say and really hard to do. So just be okay with us. If that means I had a friend come over and she cleaned my countertops and I cried. And now I cry a lot more because healing does that to you. But it was a lot. I just I didn't have the energy to do that.
Yeah. And it's so interesting that you say this because this is what I say to my daughters, and no one had said that to me at all growing up, even into a young adult. So they'll be overwhelmed. I'm like, did you drink something today? Did you at least get your Starbucks today? Did you take a nap? Go eat a piece of chocolate, go take a bath or a shower, all these questions. And it's like, one of those is usually a no. We'll go do that. Here, I'll go DoorDash you something, go eat something. Here, here's some money to go through the drive-through of Starbucks with that. And you do get burnout and it shows up in different ways. Like I've just been going. And I had something yesterday and the person was supposed to arrive at 1:00 and 15 minutes beforehand. And I had prepped, I had did all these things to get ready for it. It was actually a photo shoot. And 15 minutes before, the person said, I'm going to be an hour late. And I'm just like, and I wasn't going to be able to do it because I had someone else. And so I had gone to my space early. I had everything fixed, candles, you name it, props I was going to use because I was on this timeline. And I'm like, you know what? Let's just cancel it. I don't know where I fit it around her schedule, and boxed it that time in. And, I'm getting everything and I go to lock the door and I was just, the many things I had ahead of me. And there's a place here that I like to get my drink. I like sweet tea and Sprite in my little cup here. And it's one of these kind of foam type cups, real cheap cups. And I walk to the car, and it's a big drink. It's a big thing of Sprite. And my key hit into it, and it starts leaking like crazy. And I get in my Jeep, and I just start to cry. And it was the hole being poked in the drink that was the catalyst to, oh my goodness, of burnout. And I got myself to that point of getting overwhelmed that a hole in the cup brought me to
the pin on like the camel's back, right? It's like that.
Exactly. Yes, it broke the camel's back. So, but again, I don't really have that person speaking over me as I'm to my daughters, make sure to get that, and I remember telling my daughter, she goes, "Isn't that terrible when you drop your drink?" It's like, you drop that coffee and it's just that one little thing. So,
it could be anything.
It could be anything. Yeah. Number 2, turning your success into making a world the better place. What do you hope to leave as your legacy for Saha?
Yeah, I think I want to give people back agency and give them back instead of a world where we're like, just accept, it's just stress, which it makes me very angry when I hear that. I want to create a world where it's, like I am feeling this way and I know how to get answers, and I know that they're answers that are going to make an impact instead of a pill that's like a Band-Aid or a patch on something. So I want to build something that gives people agency. That means that healers are able to do their work full time and get paid and live a good quality of life and not just scrap by.
Right.
I think those things are really powerful. And just, there's a lot of things I want to do, including funding research for because a lot of these people are like, oh, well, there's no research behind it. And I'm like, who is going to pay for it? I want Saha to do that.
Right. So why is it important to give yourself grace?
I think no one else is going to do it for you. No one else is going to give you that grace that you can give yourself. And the relationship with yourself is the only one we know you're going to have for the rest of this life. Right. So if you're not giving yourself grace, who's doing it for you? And you're talking to yourself in whatever format that is more than anything else, anyone else. And so, like, would you do the same for the people you love and care about?
Mm-hmm.
You should love and care about yourself too. So let's give ourselves some grace here.
Right. Yeah. It just, again, conditioning as you grow up, like that culturally created self that you put yourself last. And then if you make yourself be first, it's considered selfish, but it's self-care. Saying no is self-care, right?
Yeah. I mean, I could go on a whole rant on this, but I think when you start to put yourself first and when you start to say no, the only people that disadvantages is the ones who are taking advantage of you.
Absolutely. And you see how upset they get when you don't, move heaven and earth for them, right? If you move mountains, you can move mountains for someone, but if something, you can't do it right then and there, then they get angry at you and lash out at you. Yeah. So. All right. Yeah. Well, that was our last question. As we've been talking, is there anything that you might have forgotten about or something that you want to share? The floor is yours.
I think the biggest thing is just like if you have the power to make a difference, whatever headspace you're at, it is the most beautiful thing you can do for yourself and others. And be okay that like today you might be in a very different place than you might be tomorrow. It just depends on what you have space for, and that's okay. You don't have to be at 1,000% every day.
Very good. And you are also, you have been on other podcasts as well. Yes. So if someone wants to dive a little bit deeper into some of these topics, we went over very lightly over them, but if you want to get a little deeper on burnout, giving grace, you are on other podcasts. Yes. Do you have any other videos?
Yeah. So the easiest way to find those other podcasts is in the, if you go to my website, sahacollective.com, or the platform's website, under the latest page where we have like the latest news. I include articles I've written, podcasts I've been on. I've been on like 30, 40 different ones. So it's hard to like name them here, but, and I talk about burnout.
Very good.
Grace. I talk about diving. Some of them are more business podcasts. So if you're curious more about that, if you're curious more about my motivation, the reason I made the decisions I made about building the business, that those are all there.
Okay. And what type of practitioners do you have on the side? If someone's listening, what are your different types of holistic healers do you have on board?
So I call it modality agnostic. And I'm using air quotes because I say that and people are like, I've never heard that term before. And I'm like, yes, we are doing a bunch of things that are innovative that no one's ever done before. So yes, we do have Reiki practitioners. We have sound healers. We have more traditional. So we have people who do massage, who do acupuncture. And that's what I call traditional in this space, because that's kind of what I've learned is more on the traditional side. We have people who do functional medicine, who do homeopathic, who are therapists, who do breath work. I have someone who does DNA testing, and then will give you a breakdown of what like a fitness regime and diet based on your DNA. I have different people who do like one person, she's a therapist, but she uses Dungeons and Dragons as her modality. And so she'll create a Dungeons and Dragons, which is like a board game, kind of like an immersive board game. And she'll create that for you. I have another woman who does group coaching using different types of smut, if you will, right? Like and then I have people who are more on the like conservative religious side that like do different types of coaching. I think it's all from nutrition to energy to like it's across the board, and it's really intentionally so, because I think it's important that people get options, because you might like Pilates might be your thing or Reiki might be your thing, and you won't know until you try it.
Beautiful. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, Alenka, so much for taking time out of your very busy schedule to go on this journey with me. It's been very educational.
Oh, you're on mute.
Thank you so much for joining me on this journey and taking time out of your very busy schedule to answer these questions. It's been very educational. I've loved learning about this. I mean, what a great platform that you have, that those can come on there and, find their just right. I love it. So
I like that. Find your just right. I might write that down.
It's find your Goldilocks. Find your just right.
Yeah. I love it.
Beautiful.
I love it.
All right. Well, thank you so much. And thank you so much to my listeners. And if you would like your question featured on the podcast, reach out to www.readysetreiki.com. I'm Tracy Seawright, and this has been Ready, Set, Reiki.